All right, so hey, welcome to the Success Achievers Club, where we help direct sellers and online social sellers level up on their online strategies. I'm Lynn Huber,
And I'm Richard.
and this is Richard. So let me start with sharing my screen, my PowerPoint. All righty, so welcome to week two, everyone. Last week you made space. You cleared the emotional, the mental, the energetic clutter that was crowding out what you're truly ready to receive. And then today we're rewriting the rules around worth. Now with that space open, you're going to start filling it with something deeper. Not effort, not achievement, not proof, but worth, because we are all worth it. So this week we're shifting the foundation of how you relate to abundance, not as something you work for, but as something you're already aligned with. Because here's the truth that almost no one has ever taught us, right? You don't earn abundance, you allow it. But that's not the message the world gave you, right? You were taught that your value comes from what you produce, what you give, how hard you try, how much you do, how well you perform. So it makes sense if receiving still feels like a reward, or if slowing down feels like a risk, or if rest still triggers guilt. That's not brokenness, that's programming. That's what we've been taught from the time we were born, I think. So we're going to start gently dismantling that programming. So we're going to look at the beliefs that you've internalized about money and love and visibility and value and start asking, what if worth was never meant to be something I earn? What if it's just something I remember? So I want to begin with this. Where in your business or life do you still feel like you have to work to deserve what you want? This could be money, could be support, could be visibility, even rest. Drop it in the chat or write it in your journal. Let it be raw, let it be honest, let it be enough. So, oh, admit Pat's coming in. Awesome. So, all right, so let's go ahead and move on. So because before we rewrite the rules, you have to name the ones that are still running, even if they're quiet, even if they sound reasonable, even if they helped you survive. This isn't about blaming the version of you who believed that she had to prove herself. It's about setting her free. So let's take a breath together before we begin. Just a moment to land, to soften into stillness, to make space, not in your calendar, but in your body. And this week's theme is one that runs really deep. It's about worthiness, not as a concept, not as a mindset, but more like a homecoming. Because here's what I know. Excuse me. Most of the people in this space are already deeply capable. You are brilliant, strategic, visionary. You know how to build, you know how to lead, but somewhere along the way, you were taught that your value lives in what you produce, what you give, what you prove. So you started tying your worth to motion or to momentum, to how much you can hold without asking for help. That's what we're here to unwind today. And I imagine you guys are feeling it, right? I know all of us, especially women, we're taught that our worth is 100% based on what we do, what we accomplish. But you're worthy just because of the fact that you were born, right? You're born worthy. We all are. So, let's start here. Where did you learn that your worth had to be earned? For some of you, it started in childhood, being praised for being helpful, or for being quiet, or for being high achieving, or for being good. For others, it may have been later in your business, where the clients who said yes only came after a performance, where ease was questioned, where struggle was validated. So take a moment and ask yourself this now. What version of me first learned that being valuable meant being productive, useful, or pleasing? So go ahead and write that in your journal. And if you feel like sharing, please go ahead and type it in the comments. I'm going to give you a second to write that down. So that version of you was doing her best. She was adapting to survive. She was brilliant, and she is no longer responsible for leading you to your next level. So let's break down three of the most common ways that women subconsciously tie their worth to external validation. So, number one, worth equals productivity. You might say to yourself, I had such a productive day, I feel great. Or I didn't get anything done today, I feel off. And so your value rises and falls with your output, with what you accomplish, right? You create, post, serve, and over deliver, not because it's aligned, but because it keeps that worthiness voice quiet. So ask yourself, how often do you celebrate yourself for resting? How often do you validate stillness with the same energy that you validate progress? Because the deeper truth is this: abundance doesn't measure productivity, it responds to alignment. And you guys, I'm guilty of this too, right? So, number two, worth equals struggle. This one runs deep. It sounds like if I rest, I'll fall behind. Or if it's easy, it must not be valuable. Or I don't want people to think I had it easy. So you unconsciously choose the hard path, the longer strategy, the more effortful approach. Not because it's better, but because it feels more legitimate. It makes you feel like, well, you had to struggle, and struggle becomes the price that you believe you have to pay to deserve what you want. But what if struggle isn't sacred? What if the one more sacred thing is receiving without apology? Ease doesn't mean lazy. It means your body finally feels safe. It means you trust yourself to lead from clarity. This is real elevation when you stop equating suffering with significance. And you guys, on that topic, you hear Richard and I talk about the crabs all the time, right? We say that's the crab syndrome. The bucket, you've heard the story, right? The bucket where the crabs, you're out crabbing and you're throwing them in the bucket, big 5 gallon bucket, and then they start to climb out, and the crabs that are still at the bottom of the bucket will pull them back down. As humans, we tend to do that. And so if you're successful, you'll get people that will say to you, oh, she had it easy. Oh, it was easy for her. Or there was some reason why what you accomplished wasn't real. But that's what we need to let go of. That worth equals struggle, because the people that are saying those things to you, they're struggling with that too.
It's a jealousy, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so number three, worth equals performance. This one is especially sneaky in business. You show up in your content, your launches, your coaching calls, not just to serve, but to prove that you're good enough, proving that you deserve the price. I see this a lot in Avon. I mean, I'm not with Avon. This isn't an Avon call, but when I was with Avon, everybody was like offering better discounts, and it became who could be the biggest rush to the bottom, right? When in fact the product itself was already a good value. But that's because we're having to prove somehow that we deserve the price that we're asking for the products, right? Proving that you still have it, and proving that you're valuable by being visible. But when your worth is tied to performance, visibility becomes a trap. You're afraid to step back. You're afraid to slow down. You fear that disappearing means being forgotten. But let me ask you, what if your worth doesn't live in your volume? What if your worth just lives in your presence? It's just who you are, right? Your energy speaks louder than your output ever will. And your people don't need more posts, they need more truth. You don't need to prove anything to be magnetic. You simply need to anchor into who you already are. So let's talk about how this plays out in your body. When worth is tied to hustle or output, your nervous system is in a constant state of scanning. It's like your nervous system is constantly, am I doing enough? Did I say it right? Am I showing up enough? Do they still think I'm relevant? Is this speaking to you guys? Is this something? I mean, I know a lot of this. I get my head does all this too, right? But this hypervigilance isn't rooted in strategy, it's rooted in survival. It's rooted in our because we don't feel like we're worthy and we have to prove we are. And so when you try to slow down, your body resists. You start to feel guilty. You feel unsafe. You feel like something must be wrong. This is why mindset alone isn't enough. Affirmations alone isn't going to do it. You just can't affirm your way into safety. You have to anchor into it. That's why today's embodiment work will focus on somatic anchoring and helping to connect to the feeling of worthiness without having to do anything to earn it. Okay. Because that's where the real shift happens. So let's make this real. So innate worth feels like saying no and trusting the right things will still come. No is a complete sentence. You guys, you don't have to justify it. Okay. Choosing rest without justifying it. I'm guilty of that one, 100%. Creating from overflow, not obligation. So you're creating because you want to, not because you feel like you have to. Okay. Raising your rates without raising your content output. So, that if you are doing something like where you're providing training or whatever, then you feel like if you raise your rates, you have to provide more value, but you're already providing value. Okay. Letting silence be powerful and letting ease be enough. So ask yourself, what becomes possible in your business when your worth is no longer on the line? What changes in your relationships, your pricing, your presence, if it's no longer tied to your worth? Okay. Go ahead and write that in your journal. And please share in the comments if you feel comfortable doing so. I'm going to give you just a minute to write those thoughts down. You don't need to work harder to feel deserving. You don't need to do more to access overflow. You need to remember this: you are inherently worthy. You are enough now, and your energy is allowed to receive without performance. So let's land here. You were taught that worth was something that you had to earn. Today, you're choosing to remember that that's not true. It's something you already are. You were born worthy. Okay. So I have an affirmation. I'm no longer available to tie my worth to effort, struggle, or performance. I am worthy of receiving now, not because I've done enough, but because I am enough. Let that settle into your system. You are enough. You are. And you have to take that in. You have to believe it, right? So let your breath soften. Let your body receive it. And then now let's take this into our somatic anchoring and coaching. So this truth doesn't just sound good, it will feel real too. Okay? So let's move into today's reset. This is the part of the work where you stop thinking about your worth and start feeling it. So instead of in your head, in the head noise, you're going to feel it in your body, okay? Because your nervous system needs to experience safety in stillness, not after you earn it, not once you've done enough, but right now. Grab your notebook or the worksheet if you downloaded the worksheet. Get grounded in your seat, take a breath, and let's begin. So, step one is unhook from the old worth loops. So, you're going to begin by naming the subconscious rules that have been running your worth story. So, I'm going to give you some prompts and I want you to think about them, okay? So, where in your life or business are you still trying to earn your worth? Think about where you feel like you have to perform or prove or perfect something before you're allowed to rest or charge more or receive fully, and write that down. Give you a couple minutes to write that down. So where are you still trying to, where in your life or business are you still trying to earn your worth? Okay, so now look at what you wrote and ask, what belief is underneath that behavior? So some examples might be, if I'm not visible, I'm not valuable. Or if I rest, I'll fall behind. Or if I don't deliver more, I'll lose everything. Deep down, I think some of us feel that way, right? So write the core belief, no filter. Just write, what is it? What belief is underneath that behavior? Now you're going to gently unhook from it. So, where do you feel that belief in your body? Don't try to fix it, just name it. Is it a tightness in your chest? Is it a buzz in your throat? Maybe it's pressure in your shoulders. Maybe you're finding yourself hunched up, numbness in your gut. In mine, I think I had a chiropractor tell me that I keep my stress in my
Mhm.
midsection here. And and that's something we need to become aware of, right? Where are we holding it? So notice it. Breathe into it. This is not pain, it's just presence. So now place a hand over that area of your body, wherever that is. Close your eyes if that feels safe, and visualize this old belief as a frequency that's no longer yours. Visualize that belief is attached to your body with a cord, sort of like a power cord, just like coming out of your body, plugged in, okay? So now imagine unplugging from it, not with force, not with judgment, with grace. Say softly in your mind or out loud, I no longer tie my worth to this. I release this survival pattern. I choose to be anchored in enoughness now. And then go ahead and unplug the cord. Just unplug it. Breathe into that. So now picture a warm, soft light filling the space where that old belief used to live. This light isn't energy you earned, it's energy that's always been yours. You're just letting it come home. You're just letting that energy back in because it's always been yours. So take a breath and let it settle. Okay, so now we'll bring this into identity and integration. So if I was no longer trying to prove my worth, how would I show up this week? Write down what shifts in your pricing, your posting, your presence, or what your rest will look like. And I'll give you a second to write that down. And then what's one action I can take this week that reflects my innate worth without needing to earn it? This could be as simple as taking a full day offline, or maybe raising a boundary, or maybe letting your work be done enough. How many of us are holding on to it has to be perfect? So we keep reworking it and reworking it and reworking it, and it has to be perfect, especially if it's a social media post. You guys, it's going to be gone in a couple of days. So it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be enough, done enough, okay, to get your point across, right? You got to let that go. So holding a higher standard in your selling without over explaining. There is nothing wrong with holding a standard, and you don't have to over explain or explain anything. It's this is my price, this is my value, this is what I'm offering you, all of that, right? And then finally, what is one sentence I want to hold as my worth anchor this week? So some examples might be my worth is not up for negotiation. I don't have to perform to be powerful. Stillness is safe. I am safe. Or write your own. And I'll say them again just in case you're writing them down. My worth is not up for negotiation. I don't have to perform to be powerful. Stillness is safe. I am safe. Or, like I said, write your own. And if you feel comfortable, please go ahead and write it in the comments. And for sure, write it in your journal. So I'm going to give you a minute, and I'm going to give a minute to see if anybody wants to comment or share with us.
I just wanted to comment real quick. I've always felt that a lot of our beliefs are programmed throughout our life, and we use them, and then we don't won't pay any attention. And all of a sudden, something happens that things don't go right, or we can't do something right, and we have to go back and really stop for a minute and think about our belief. Where did it come from? Is it really serving me, or how can I change this just slightly to make the outcome better? I don't do that as much as I should, but I think all of us are at that point where throughout our lives we're told things as kids that we find out later as adults aren't true, or even when I was growing up, we didn't have all the social media and the Google ability, and you didn't really look things up as readily, and now you can find out things faster and create. I kind of look at it like I solidify my belief a little better based on knowledge instead of just basing it on what everybody else is doing.
Knowledge is power.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when the things we're taught when we're young, they're not meant to be. They're not belittling us really in most cases. Um, you think about it when you're 5 years old and I don't know, you're at school and you do something really good and the teacher praises you and writes a note home to the parent and the parent praises you on it. Nobody's saying you're only good enough if you do these things. But as a child, we have limited knowledge. And so we think, oh, I only got praised because I did this. And so that's where you
Mhm.
start tying your worth to what you're
Mhm.
accomplishing.
Yes.
And it doesn't mean that they said you're not worthy. Nobody said that, right? Well, I mean, I'm not saying that for every case, but in most cases, nobody said you're not worthy by not doing this. But it's just we clamp onto things when we're kids that maybe we don't understand 100% too.
Yeah. Plus our mind, we get in our heads too much, and I know for me too. I remember more often. I remember old things that are bad that happened to me than I do good things. For
Yeah.
some reason, they stick out in your mind when something goes wrong. Maybe it's to teach you a lesson so you don't do it again.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Okay, so take one last breath with your hand over your heart. You are not worthy because of what you do. You are worthy in spite of what you've been taught. And this version of you, rested, clear, anchored, is allowed to receive everything she desires without apology, without performance, without delay. Let this be your energetic baseline. So, we're going to go into some group talk. So, I hope that those of you who are here will talk. I know many of you are probably going to be watching on the replay. But anyway, now that you've named and unhooked from an old worth pattern and anchored into a new truth, it's time to bring that shift into our community. This is a space for reflection, not performance. There's no pressure to share everything, only what feels real for you right now. You're not here to impress anybody, okay? You're here to be witnessed. So take a few moments to respond to the following prompts, write them in your journal and in the chat. So the first one is, what's one belief or pattern you released today around having to earn your worth? This could be something that came up in your journaling or during the somatic release. And number two, what's one new truth or way of being that you're going to anchor instead? This could be a mantra or a boundary or a new behavior. And number three, what's one small action you're committed to this week that reflects your innate worth without requiring you to prove it? Keep it simple and grounded. Does anyone want to share? Go ahead and unmute yourself if you'd like to talk. Let's have some discussion. This is going to be a really quick training if nobody wants to talk. All righty. Well, this isn't about fixing or solving. It's just about being witnessed in your shift. And so I just want you guys to know that you're powerful right where you are. So, all right, let's move on. Okay. So let's take a moment to soften together. Close your eyes if it feels good. Feel your seat. Feel your breath. Feel the space you've already created within. You don't need to rush into doing. You've already shifted something just by being here. This next portion is your space to receive support, to be seen in what's still feeling sticky or vulnerable or real. Whether something came up during journaling or even just in your body, this is a chance to name it, process it, and let it be witnessed. Anybody like to share? You can share a belief that's still feeling loud, or maybe a place where you're struggling to separate worth from performance. Maybe a shift you made, but maybe you still feel a little wobbly with, or maybe a moment that you're unsure how to anchor into worth in your real life or business. This space is open. It's no pressure, full permission. Anybody like to share? Go ahead and unmute if you'd like to talk. All right. Well, let's just let this be about curiosity, not correction. Okay. This stuff that we're doing today, it's not because you were doing something wrong. We're just looking at the things that we believe and we're looking at them and being curious about them. And is this a true belief or is this something we can change? You're not here to fix yourself because you're not broken. Okay. So you're here to feel safe being more you. All right. Well, I just want to thank you guys for being here, and hopefully that you received silently. If you didn't want to talk, that's okay. Your presence is powerful, whether you spoke or not, because every time you witness someone reclaim their worth, or you feel like you can reclaim your worth, you're giving your nervous system permission to do the same. So let's bring this session to a close with clarity, integration, and one small commitment to lead from innate value. So I have homework for you guys. So this week is about reinforcing the truth that your value is not something to prove, it's something to return to. This work is not about doing more, it's about being more anchored in who you already are. And here's what to focus on between now and our next session next week. So, number one, complete your worth audit. Revisit your notes from today. Make a list of the patterns, behaviors, or beliefs that you still try to hook your worth to. It can be productivity, or struggle, or performance, or visibility, or output. Look at each one and ask, who taught me this? Is it still true for the person that I'm becoming? This step isn't about blaming. Like I said, it's about unhooking. It's about just going and unplugging it, right? Okay, number two, choose your worth anchor for the week. Pick one sentence from today or create a new one that reflects your innate value. This should be a sentence you can speak out loud every day, not for performance, but just as a way to anchor yourself for presence. So maybe some examples could be, I am allowed to receive even when I'm still. My value doesn't rise with and fall with what I produce. I don't have to prove anything to be powerful. And I'll say those again, just in case you're writing them down. I am allowed to receive even when I'm still. My value doesn't rise and fall with what I produce. And I don't have to prove anything to be powerful. You were born powerful, right? So write it on a sticky note, put it on your mirror, let it lead your decisions this week. And then number three, practice worthy action without performance. Pick one simple action this week that reflects your worth without explanation, apology, or over effort. So some examples could be saying no without justifying, posting less but from overflow. You're posting because you want to, right? Resting on a weekday. That's like, who would do that? Well, you can do that, right? Charging full price without over explaining. Letting one thing be good enough without tweaking it. You're not doing this to be strategic. You're doing this to show your system that ease is safe and enough. Would anyone like to share? Go ahead and unmute and share your worth anchor or your worthy action inside our group space to be witnessed in it. Sometimes just saying it out loud makes it feel more real. Or you can type it in the comments. Give it a minute.
I just want to say, Lynn and I did a major change in our life this last year, as many of you who know us may know. But we were living a life that was pretty full when we were in Nevada, and yet we still felt empty. And we were given the opportunity of where we're living now, here in the villages in Florida, of being able to mix more pleasure of doing things and really enjoying life, but I have to say more than anything else, it's more about scheduling. We can quickly go out and play and do things that we like to do, get exercise, meet people, and yet still do our work, growing our business. And it was pretty hard to do. I mean, first we had to realize that we had some big discussions about whether we should make the transition. But every day that we live here now, I think Lynn would say the same as me, that it was the best decision we ever made.
Yeah.
But it was a hard one. It was really difficult. It's hard to uproot yourself and change all the habits and the things that we did, and to create this life that we have now. But it's really been a blessing. But that's up to you. This was kind of a major scale thing that we did, but some things are smaller, just where you're living now, or just a way to either meet more people or do more things, or you create new interests or whatever. It's just something you need to take some time to sit and think about it and really get to the root cause of your happiness or unhappiness.
Yeah, well, and like what Richard said, it was not easy for us to move. It was a big decision, huge decision, and we moved all the way across the country. But when we were in Vegas, we were working all the time. And we did have, I mean, we had our bingo for breast cancer, which actually filled me. But again, we were in that mindset of we have to produce more to be worthy, right? And now that we're here, what we're learning is we can take the time for ourselves. We can go do what we want to do, play water volleyball, cardio drumming, all this fun stuff we're doing, but we schedule our work in, so we're doing both, and we're not having it. One isn't at the expense of the other. And so, and I don't have to put in as many hours in my work. I still can be totally worthy, whether I'm successful in my business or not. But obviously, I want to be successful, and I can still be successful. But I'm doing the right things I need to do, but I don't have to work all the time.
Yeah, I feel more than anything else that I'm probably more productive now and with less time working the actual business because I'm more relaxed and happy with myself, and it probably shows. I mean, we see this about people all the time. When you go out and you're in a big group and you see somebody that's really annoying or whatever, you usually don't want to be around them. But if you see the people that really draw people around are the ones that are funny or laughing or having fun or approachable and are very interesting. And those are the people that you want to become and kind of attract, as she says here. You're just attracting things to you because of that.
Yeah, yeah. All right, you guys, so let's go to the next slide. So you were taught that something that worth is something you have to earn. That's what I think most of us believe, right? But today you choose to remember a deeper truth. You don't earn abundance. You don't. You
Mhm.
don't earn it. You allow it. Okay? Your value does not live in your hustle or your output or your visibility or your performance. It lives in your presence. It lives in just being you and in your knowing and in your willingness to trust that stillness is not a threat, it's an invitation. So today you release the lie that you have to prove yourself to receive. You chose to anchor in enoughness without any conditions. Okay. You remembered that your worth is something, it's not something you chase. It's just who you are, right? Even if you do nothing at all, it's still who you are. You are worthy. So let that be the energy you carry forward this week. Now, close your eyes for a moment, take a breath. What's one word or phrase that captures the version of you who doesn't earn her worth but embodies it? Drop it in the chat or write it down in your journal. This is your anchor. Let this be the frequency that leads every decision, boundary, and breath this week. Take one more breath and walk back into your day as the woman who no longer performs for permission. She leads from truth. And that truth is you are already worthy. And Pat says, that was really interesting and helpful to hear from you who are living that. Oh, thanks, Pat.
Like that.
Thank you. We're all on a journey, right? We're all on a journey. And I just want you guys to know you are worthy precisely because you are you, not because of what you accomplish, not because of how successful you are in your business. You are worthy. You're inherently worthy. You were born that way. Okay. So anyway, thanks, Pat, for your comments. And that's all I have for you today. Hope you found this valuable. Today, we worked on rewriting the rules around worth. Next week, we're going to talk about building capacity to hold more. So you can start to hold more, you can attract more to you, and you can hold it, right? So we'll see you next Tuesday, July 29th, same time, same place. Thank you guys for being here. And go on and have an amazing week. Let's see if I can get out of this now. Stop screen share. Okay, bye-bye.